Welcome to another episode of Amputate to Elevate Success, the show that helps leaders like you navigate high-stakes transitions with the communication skills needed to rise. Not despite the challenges, but because of it. I'm your host, John Register, and if you've never heard of my story, here's the short version. Olympic hopeful, U.S. Army combat veteran, amputee, two-time Paralympian, and today an executive coach helping others amputate what no longer serves them so that they can elevate to who they are meant to be. Now, this show is part of the Elevate Life Executive Strategy series over on Beehive, and every week we sit down with extraordinary leaders and ask one bold question. What did you have to amputate to elevate to your success? Because leadership isn't about adding more, it's about releasing what holds us back. Whether you're navigating a pivot in your business, career, or in life, we give you the fundamental tools from real leaders who've done the work. If this podcast inspires you, don't forget to like it, share it, and then follow it up, and then share it with other people. It helps more leaders find the support they need to grow. Today's a special episode. Like the last one, it's a little different. It's our first ever Leadership Roundtable edition, the second one, featuring incredible voices like Abby Davisson, Samantha Kris, Travis Hearne, Tiffany Yu, and Mike Bartkoski. So all they're doing is getting a chance to share their voices. Each story is personal, every insight is practical, and one theme echoes throughout all of them. When we let go of fear, shame, or control, we rise together. And remember, we have a deep dive discussion on this episode every Saturday evenings about 7 p.m. Mountain Time. Now, this Saturday will be the 4th, but just set your time, listen in on Sunday morning because I'll just have it posted anyway. So get ready. We're going to dive in right after this. What is the one thing that you had to amputate in order to elevate your success?
Well, stage fright right away. I'm usually behind the camera. I know it's a personality. I don't know that can be considered, but I'm very shy. I was very reserved when I was a child. Didn't want to talk to anybody. I was in the library most of the time. But then, of course, being a photographer is behind the camera. I've never been in front of the camera, as you can tell. That's why I avoid podcasts and stuff like that. So I never wanted to talk on stage or anywhere or do any public speaking. But I found that I built a banter with people, and I started saying, icebreakers and stuff like that. And I just started telling my story and how I met you. Kind of like we hit it off or bound it right away, and I felt a closeness to you right away. So I felt like very comfortable talking to you and having this introduction with my life story with you.
So Samantha, what's one thing that you had to amputate in order to elevate your success?
I have been thinking about this since I met you, John. This talk of yours was so powerful, and it left such a lasting impression on me in understanding really what can I let go of. I think I've gone through this exercise a lot, and it took hearing you and your story to realize, although I've identified certain things to let go of, I've not truly let them go. And so I think I did half the work. And so since I've met you, it's really been seeking to understand not only what can I drop, but what will be most impactful to help propel me forward. And what has rung true for me is the fear of success. And I think we talk about the fear of failure quite a bit as something that holds us back. But the fear of success is a sneaky one. And recognizing that I actually have a lot of confidence and belief in my own ability, but the fear that comes with stepping into that and the decisions that will be required and the compromises that will need to be made once that call, once I flip the switch.
What do you think is holding you from flipping that switch?
How long is this chat going to be? I feel like this is going to be a lifetime of exploration to discover or to discuss. But right now, anyway, I think there's this, I worry a lot about others. And I think I have created narratives that have kept me stuck in an energy that feels like if I fully lean into who I can be, it comes to the detriment or at the detriment of them. And I have not been entertaining the idea of what happens if I lean into everything I know I can be. How can that elevate everyone? And so it's been a very conscious effort and shift in energy in saying, in thinking and truly believing that stepping into this for me can in fact be the rising tide that lifts all boats. And that's just been something I haven't trusted fully until recently.
You've had a lot of success in your career, and you continue to have success. What have you had to amputate in order to elevate to that success? Hey, I can't wait for you to hear Abby Davisson's answer. But first, I've got something special for those of you who are already ready to elevate. The Olympic and Paralympic legends that are in this museum, my artifact that's right here, were once just people with a dream and a decision. Just like you, the tools, the stories, the strategies they used, they're not locked away behind glass. They're alive right now in the Elevate Life Executive Strategy Session. It's a live 45-minute training I lead every month for our Elevate Life family. And the next one, July the 17th at 5 p.m. Eastern. Now, I usually offer this for $2,997 for the year. But for the month of July, you can get this information and the entire year for just $297 for the year. And if you just want to try it out, you can do it for $45.97 for this month only. This special pricing will not be here for long, so get the $29.97 value for only $297 for the year and try it out just for $45.97. The Olympic and Paralympic Museum houses the artifacts from past accomplishments, and today I help you build a legacy to win the medals in your life. Tap the link in the show notes to register. Okay, let's get back to the question. Thanks for listening.
I have had to amputate the idea that others get to define success. And the way I am elevating is to say, now I get to define success on my own terms. For the first long time, many decades of my life, I jumped through a lot of hoops. I earned a lot of degrees from institutions you just mentioned and attached myself to well-known brands. And at some point, I realized I need to bet on myself instead of letting other people's ideas of success define me and my path.
Well, there's a story there. Go a little deeper.
Well, so my mom was a children's librarian and my dad was a public health executive. So I like to say that I was born with a book in my hands and a desire to help people improve their well-being. And I am a voracious reader. I devoured books all growing up, but never thought of myself as a writer or as an author. I enjoyed it, but I would not use that term to define myself. And I had the opportunity to collaborate with a mentor of mine, my former professor. And even, we started working on this book together, Money and Love, all about big life decisions. And even as the book was under contract, the manuscripts were being delivered, I had a hard time calling myself an author because in my mind, the book wasn't born yet. It was like, still gestating. And so at one point, someone said to me, "Of course you're an author. Like you've seen a picture of a book with your name on it. Yeah, that's an author." And I was like, okay, yeah, like I get to call myself an author. And so I think this idea of like, you get to define, who you are, your identity, what you call yourself. You don't need to wait for someone externally to define that for you. That has been a lesson that I'm still learning, and I'm teaching my kids and teaching others through my speaking and coaching and advising work.
The mantra of this show of amputating to amplify. And in your opinion, what are some of the things that either MXGBT or other folks in the industry in that supply chain need to release or let go of, amputate? And what are some things that we need to amplify in order to find the successes that we want to in the events industry?
I think I'll start with amplify. I think getting knowledge from as many people, places, sources of information is important. And I say this, for example, in my role, it's as important for me to get feedback from my direct reports than from everybody across the organization. Because again, you hear the context of where they're coming, and that creates a different starting point to make decisions. So I think Amplify is that everybody has a voice. And regardless of where you're in the organization, you should feel comfortable talking, escalating either opportunities or risks that you see from a business perspective. And I guess building on that a little bit about amputate is amputate decision-making at the top of the org and move that down across the org. Not every decision has to go to the top. I think that's somewhat of a culture in a lot of places. But if we can move decisions to whoever is best positioned, regardless of their role, title, or whatever, I think that's something that we could amputate in that sense. No?
What is it that you have had to amputate, and then what have you had to elevate to find your success?
Yeah. I think the thing, and this goes back even to the beginning of my career, I had to get my head around the fact that there was going to be a decent amount of discomfort. So I think when you're an athlete, you think about it in the life.
Former athlete.
Once an athlete, always an athlete.
Y'all had that chili downstairs.
Yeah. And you have that experience of like, if you want to do something, you're going to have to work hard for it. It's kind of a given in our work life, in our personal lives, that, yeah, you're going to have to work for things. But there is a reality that means you will be uncomfortable from time to time. And, you go through these periods of time of growth and then some recovery and then more growth and then you recover. And in those periods of growth, there's a lot of time when you just have to get out of your comfort zone. You're going to do something that's new. You're going to do something that's hard. You're going to do something that you're not good at. Every level that you step through in a career, in a relationship, it pulls on new muscles. I mean, it stresses you in different ways. And unless you can accept the fact that it's just not going to feel perfect all the time, you'll not make a lot of progress.
What did you have to amputate in order to elevate to your success?
Well, it's a great question. It's a really great question. I think I had to realize that it's not all about me. And, because leadership, when there's a temptation sometimes to think that you can do it all alone and that you have to have all the answers. You have to know how to do everything. And I think that was the kind of leader I was at the beginning. And I think that as I had to start learning how to grow my business and I had to learn more about business, I realized that we're stronger together, and developing a team of people around you that are smarter than you, that can do more. And also getting into a peer network where people can, of other like-minded businesses that, are possibly values aligned, mission driven, we're all smarter together. So I think I had to learn to really collaborate and build a community around me.
What have you had to amputate in order to elevate to your excellence or your success?
This is such a good question. The first thing that came to mind was amputating imposter syndrome, amputating the idea that my voice didn't matter. And I think that by staying true to a mission that's much bigger than feeling self-conscious on a certain day allowed me to expand and reach more audiences.
Could you think about, what's the on the excellence side? How's that actually moved you into the person that you are today?
So to provide a little bit of context for your listeners, so
Sure.
Part of why I care so much about my work is lived experience. At the age of 9, I was involved in a car accident where my dad was driving. He unfortunately passed away. And I acquired a handful of injuries and disabilities, including permanently paralyzing, then my dominant arm, breaking a couple bones in one of my legs that would leave me as a temporary wheelchair user for about 4 months, and much later being diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, which is a mental health disability. And I share all of that because as the daughter of Asian immigrants, for the first 10 plus years after the car accident, I felt so much shame, whether you call it internalized shame or internalized ableism, around many aspects of this car accident. In certain Asian cultural, in certain Asian cultural contexts, anything that might be seen as shameful, such as a traumatic car accident, someone in your immediate family passing away, or even having an apparent visible disability, we're all seen as somewhere in your familial lineage, there was some bad luck. And so you have the reason why all of this happened is due to that bad luck. And in order not to spread this bad luck onto other people, don't share these parts of your story. So part of why I shared all of that context here is I think part of who I am now is honoring those 10 plus years of Tiffany essentially operating as a shell of herself. She couldn't sit in her authenticity because whether it was out of respect for the family, the collective, I actually told a lot of, not told a lot of, but didn't tell anyone about the car accident. I told people my dad was away on a trip. A lot of people assumed that my injury was from birth. And I'm even hearing from friends that I had in elementary school or middle school or high school, some of them had no idea about my arm, right? And so I feel like that, I don't know. I think about this quote a lot from Francis Weller, and he says, the work of the mature person is to carry grief in one hand and gratitude in the other, and to be stretched large by them. How much sorrow can I hold? That's how much gratitude I can give. And I bring that up because I think about the kind of like dichotomies of sitting in grief or sitting in silence or suffering for that period of time and thinking that that was the only place I could be, versus now being very loud and proud about all aspects of my identity. So a long-winded answer to say, I remember what it was like to be on the other side of that and who I am. And I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge that that was a core part of my story of who I then became to be.
What do you have to amputate in your life? And then what did you have to elevate in your life to find the success that you are at right now?
Man, I had to amputate so many things. So going back to what I joined, I was in the Marine Corps for a long time. Like you said, Iraq and Afghanistan. When I came home from Iraq and Afghanistan, and I joined, I joined the corporate world, and I started like living amongst the normal people, and just being a civilian. I realized I had a lot of trauma that I had to amputate, that I had to let go of when I'm coming out of the Marine Corps, coming out of deployments, and it was holding me back from being able to actually fully lead and fully support my team for a Titanium Consulting Group, fully support when I was at DIA, even fully support my Marines. When I came back from Afghanistan in 2010, I still had 4 more years left as an active duty Marine. So understanding that, like, man, there's some things that I need to work through, that I need to let go of. I really, really need to let go of. And one of those, it was the trauma, but mixed within that trauma was also alcohol. So one of the a big thing in my life was that I had to let go a couple of years ago was drinking. I'm a kind of guy, John, I think you know me, that if I'm going to do something, I better be good at it. And I was not good at drinking. That was not something that I was good at, but I was really trying hard to be good at it. And it was not serving me. It was clogging my judgment. And this is all a personal decision to me. This is what it did to me. And it just wasn't serving me. It wasn't serving my people. I wasn't serving my people well when I had that part of my life. So being able to amputate that part has really helped to, I don't think we ever amputate the trauma that we experience in life, but we are able to dive into it and really heal from it. And you and I talked about healing yesterday, but we can start to heal, and we can continue to heal, and we can make the decision every single day that we're going to be better than we were yesterday, and we're not going to let trauma drive that train.
From amputating stage fright to severing ties with imposter syndrome, from letting go of alcohol and trauma to redefining success on your own terms. Our guests today remind us that the most powerful elevation often begins with courageous subtraction. Let's thank them: Abby Davisson, Samantha Kris, Michael Bartkoski, Travis Hearne, Tiffany Yu, Miren Oca, Gerardo Tejado Donde, and John Wolfsohn. And thank you for joining us. If you got value from today's episode, hit that like button, share it, and follow all along. Then invite your friends and teammates who's navigating their own transition to come along with us. The show is for them too. If you want to go deeper, sign up for the Elevate Life Executive Strategy Session. Remember, for the month of July, you can get this $2,997 value for only $297 for the year. And if you just do it for a test drive, you can do it for $45.97 for this month only. You'll find the link in the show notes, or head over to my Beehive newsletter on johnregister.beehiiv.com. Or leave me a note, get a comment, and others to like and follow the show. I'm John Register, the Decision Commander and Resilience Architect. And until next time, go forth, inspire your world. Bye for now.